In the video today, we are going to be opening up this board that just got shipped today. This is the ChessNut Evo. It is a smart, electronic, AI-powered chessboard, and we're going to explore everything that you can do with this board. So I'm going to open up the board, compare it to some of the other boards that I have, and do some gameplay as well. So by the end of the video, if you're interested or curious whether this board is right for you, you should have a good enough estimate. Additionally, if you are interested in purchasing it, there's going to be a link down below that will give you an extra 2% off the Black Friday sale that has already kicked off. So make sure to check that link. Now, if you're not looking to purchase this board, that is of course okay as well. Hopefully you just sit back, relax, and enjoy the technological advancements that the modern age has brought to chess. So without any further ado, let's jump straight in. Let's go ahead and open up this box right now. All right, so here it is. Now, if you've been following the channel for a little bit, you would have seen that I recently also reviewed the ChessNut Air Plus, and this box right here is significantly bigger and significantly more heavy, and I think that goes to show the upgrade, the level of difference that we're talking about between these two products. Now, I bring up this comparison because I just want to mention that if you really do want to make a purchase during the holiday season, you want a new board, you want to take advantage of the Black Friday sale, but this one here seems like a little bit too much, then maybe look at the Air Plus, look in that direction. But enough about that, let's jump into the Evo, let's open this up further. Okay, so in the box there are a couple of things. There is a manual, there's a charging cable, there's a bag for the pieces, there's a couple of other objects as well. Let's go ahead and remove this layer of the pieces. Hopefully you can see these well. The pieces look very different, very distinct to the ChessNut Air Plus. In the Air Plus, they seemed a lot more wooden. Here, just by the colors, they seem a lot more plasticky. And the moment we've been waiting for, here's the actual board. Take a look at this beauty right here. Let's take it out of its case though. Let's open this up. Now that everything is out of the box, let me clean some things up here for you and then put the pieces on the board and join you back in just a moment. So the pieces are all on the board. We're almost ready to start playing, but before we do that, I just want to take a couple of moments to mention some of the comparisons between this board and some of the other boards. Now, the truth is, it's quite hard to compare them because this is totally different. So, okay, the size I think is quite reasonable. The piece to square ratio I think is also quite normal. But the color complex is almost impossible to compare because we're talking about apples and oranges. Typically, when you think of chessboards, you think of wooden boards, and that comprises the vast majority of the boards that I have at my house, and it also consists of the Air Plus that we previously mentioned. Now, I'm going to state the obvious. This is not a wooden chessboard. I think a lot of people are used to kind of the vibe of having a wooden chessboard with wooden chess pieces, with a clock on one side, a cup of tea on the other, a chess book that you're reading from. That is a really cool and fun experience. This is a different kind of experience. You have this massive screen where you can put YouTube videos, you can go to chess.com, you can go to Lichess, you can directly translate the position to the board. There's going to be lights everywhere. You have these very glossy and shiny pieces. This is a completely different kind of game. And some people might prefer one or the other. Some people might be more used to and more comfortable with the wooden vibe. I totally get that. But ladies and gentlemen, this is the future of chess. We're coming soon to 2025, and this is what technology can do to the game of chess. I'm super excited to see exactly how this will revolutionize the game. I'm super excited to see exactly what we can do with this board. So let me not waste any more time. Let's jump straight in. There is a panel of buttons here on the side. I'm going to do an overlay so you can see how it looks. I'm going to open this up. I assume you just press the power on button. So let me hold this one for a little while and see if anything happens. Never mind, it's out of batteries. Let me go ahead and charge this first and then open it up. Now, as you can tell by the change of clothing, this took a little bit longer than I expected, but we are finally ready to open this up. So the way this works, there's a panel of buttons here on the left. You're gonna hold to the power button, and when you do so, it's going to light up. You're gonna see the ChessNut symbol, and then it's gonna take a moment to actually power on. So you're gonna see a blank screen in a moment. This does take a while. Blank screen, there we go. And then you're going to see the symbol again. Don't worry, it's not on loop. Eventually it opens up, and it comes to this home screen right here. So this is how it looks. Now there are quite a few buttons here, so we're going to slowly work through some of them. We're not going to touch all of them in this video here, but I just want to give you kind of a feeling of how this works. It's really easy. You can just press a button. So for example, let's say we choose the clock. It now gives us some options. For example, we can set the time to be a couple of minutes. Let's make it 2. We can press confirm, and then we can start. And the way this works is ideally you're playing against somebody in real life. This is what you use the clock for. And then you can play a game of chess. And after you play the game, you have a clock right next to you, right? That is, of course, the benefit. So we can get into the Prince Sicilian, for example. And again, you have a clock on your side. And this makes it pretty easy to play against someone. You also have a 2D board representation of the game, which is also quite useful sometimes. But okay, this is not that useful if you want to play against somebody else from far away. So let's stop this and take a look at maybe the cooler version of what we can do. Because really, if all you're looking to do is play against somebody on a physical board, many different types of boards can help you do that. The benefit of this board right here are some of the other features. So there's quite a few. We're going to look at the main thing, the online mode. So we press this, and here you can connect it to various apps. There's Chessable, there's chess.com. We'll take a look at Lichess. The others work very similar. Once you press it, it opens up the Lichess website. Now, once you load up Lichess, it's going to look just like it always does, and you can start a game just like you always do. So for example, you can press a 10-minute game. It'll find an opponent and then load the game and immediately transmit the moves to the 3D board. And what that means is that as the player, you can just focus on the 3D board and that's it. So here we're white. So I'm going to have to make the first move. But after I do that, I play the move, the opponent is going to think, they're presumably going to make a move back. And once they do, I'm going to see that move just on the 3D board. So, okay, they played e5. I'm going to play knight f3. Let's see what happens. Okay, they went knight to c6. Let's go bishop e5. I can fix their pieces for them. And I don't have to say adjust, because it's not a real tournament game. And let's see. Okay, bishop d6. So this is already out of theory. I do not cover this in my Roy Lopez masterclass. It is a very strange move. And presumably, it's probably not a great move. You're blocking in your own pieces. I think castling is probably okay. Maybe going d4 as well, trying to blast open the center. Both seem somewhat logical. You know what? Let's have some fun. Let's play d4. Especially for you guys with this new board. Let's explode in the center. See what happens. And at least ask them a very concrete question. What are they going to do? But you can see that this feels really, really normal, right? We're just playing at a 3D level. The time here is on the side of the board, which is really nice. You can see the clock situation. Okay, they played f6. That very much weakens their king. I already am dreaming of ideas of sacrificing the knight and queen h5 and tearing down their entire position. I'm pretty sure that this does end up actually working out quite nice for me. Let's see what happens. They're going to take back. That is to be expected. And yeah, let's go ahead and take. Now, admittedly, it's true that they're trading queens in the end, so it's not quite as easy as I first hoped. Let's think for a moment. Yeah, a couple of different moves. I'm going to take the pawn. It'll clear up the situation at least. And they took back with the pawn. And here my idea was knight takes pawn. So this is a fun tactic to get on our first game with the Evo. I mean, maybe I'm just totally wrong, but I'm invested in it now. There's no going back. So let's see what happens. G6 is possible, but then that's probably just making things worse for them because of the rook. Probably they should just move the king to where is the question. Maybe just f8. It seems the least intrusive, but also it's not very ambitious. I just take the bishop, and then really there's nothing I should worry about. I have a comfortable game from there. Okay, they play for g6. But now I'm taking the bishop with check, with a fork on the rook in the corner. They're blocking. Okay, now this is all collapsing. I think very soon I will be able to win. Okay, they move the king away. Now there's like a million different ways, of course, to convert this position. I can trade queens first and foremost. That definitely works. Probably taking on h7 just to maintain the pressure. Bishop g5 comes next. Also, I want like knight c3 and long castles after that. I probably want to keep queens on the board. That is my inclination. Now, if I take on h7, there's queen g8, and maybe he forces the queens off. But, okay, if they're going to spend a lot of time forcing the queens, then I guess we'll trade queens when I'm up a rook. That's not too problematic. But yeah, this is really smooth. This feels good. The screen here I like as well. Again, it gives you some context with the time. So here I'm definitely making sure that I'm staying, I'm above 6 minutes, for example. So it seems okay. b6. Yeah, I think probably let's go here, pinning the knight now twice. Once with the queen, once with the bishop. Knight c3 is coming, long castles is coming. b6, I'm assuming bishop a6 was the idea. Putting the bishop on b7 seems quite sad. So bishop a6. But now I think my plan is revealed. Knight c3, and I don't think there is a convincing way to stop long castles winning the queen, and probably the game as well, because the knight is falling after that. Yeah. Okay, I mean, black already lost the game quite a few moves ago. Okay, b5. What a defense. What a beautiful defense. Not only are they not addressing my threat, they're also blocking in the bishop that they just spent 2 tempos to activate, their only active piece. So I'm not sure I understand the reasoning, but you know what, to each their own. Anyways, let's do the first ever castle on the ChessNut Evo, and what a castle it is. It's not a boring kingside castle just to keep the king safe in some boring middle game. No, this is castling with probably mate. I mean, definitely winning the queen, but I'm assuming even better. So queen h8, king f7, queen f6, king g8. I just take the queen and then I take the knight. Let's just do that. So queen h8 check. King to f7 is forced. I mean, okay, you can block with the knight, but that's not going to happen. So king to f7. Now, I could actually just take the queen then, right, and be up even more material. That's actually probably better. So let's just do that. Okay, so it seems like my opponent has abandoned the game, so I can claim victory. I think I would have preferred some checkmate in a couple of moves, but okay. I'll claim the victory nonetheless. That's the first game on the ChessNut Evo. A pretty successful game if you ask me. So I'll give a couple of thoughts. It works super smooth. The technology, very fast, very quick. The second they play the move, and by the way, I could have silenced the beeps if I didn't want to hear that. So I'll let you know, obviously you can customize a lot of things here, but the second they play the moves, it gets to the board, and then you can respond. Another thing I'll point out, I think if you primarily play like bullet or blitz, this might not be the best for you, because in general, I think when you play on a 3D board, it lends itself better to thinking a bit more deeply. When you think of kind of a 3D board, you think of classical tournament chess. That's not necessarily the case here, but I think 10 minutes is probably on the minimum. I think you could easily, take an hour, 2-hour chunk out of your day and play a 30-minute game, 1-hour classical game, twice a week. I think that could be really beneficial for your chess, especially if you analyze it after. And I think this is a fantastic product to do that, because obviously it very easily connects to the online world, whether that's Lichess or this works the exact same on chess.com as well. So, general feedback is very good. I very much enjoyed this game. I think that's probably like 60% because of the product and 40% because of the chess that was played. I can't lie, it is a good game to start with. Okay, so let's start the analysis. So, I played e4, black played e5. You can see that as I make the move on the 3D board, it gets transmitted to the 2D screen. That means that I don't have to interact with the 2D screen, at least not that much. I can play knight f3. This is the move I played. We got into the Roy Lopez, knight c6. One thing I'll say is that do not play a lot of moves very fast. So for example, if I speed run through some of these moves, you're going to see that the computer kind of gets a little confused. What am I trying to do? So make sure to go a little bit slower. And by doing so, it'll allow you to interact with the computer, and it'll allow you to kind of have a smooth experience. Okay, so bishop d6, I'll give some of my thoughts. I wasn't exactly sure what to play here. it's a very passive move, so instinctively d4 is what I want to play. Now looking at this, there's obviously some risk with that. So for example, knight takes d4 seems a little bit scary. Maybe castling instead of playing d4 was better, but okay, it definitely turned out to make a fun game, especially after the move f6. Although I'll admit that maybe f6 made me more excited than it should have, because somehow I think the position that I got obviously turned out well, but there was more room for error than what I initially anticipated. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that I took the knight here. And I took the knight hoping for some very concrete continuations, much of what we saw in the game. But I think I underestimated some of the alternatives that black has, and generally you don't want to give away your b5 Roy Lopez bishop for the knight on c6 unless there's something super concrete. So I think I somewhat misplayed this part of the game, and part of that comes from the realization that after I take here, okay, first of all, they can take with the bishop. I wasn't entirely scared of this, to be honest, because I thought that after I trade the queens, I get into an endgame, which is not what I wanted, because this video would have gone on for quite some time, but I would have gone into an endgame. Let's actually slow this a little bit down. I would have gone into an endgame, and it's definitely a pleasant endgame for me. That's kind of the observation I made after pawn takes. Again, guys, as you see, you want to go quite slow. So after pawn takes, the idea is, maybe I give the check, probably I just develop the knight, maybe the bishop comes to b2 to, really harass the pawn, and it seems after even the knight comes to f3, this pawn will find itself lacking protection. So like this endgame is good, but this is one option that I definitely should have considered. Let's go back a couple of moves. Now I will interact with this. Let's go back to when the pawn took. So let's put the pieces back where they were. We had a bishop here. My queen was back on the board. And when they took with the pawn, here's another thing I kind of missed. After knight takes, I'm not so sure that their only move is to take with the bishop. I think if they took with the bishop, this is what I saw. Then after queen h5 check, indeed, I am very happy. But for example, queen h4 is something that I maybe did not consider enough. And here, maybe they're attacking the pawn, and they're also still attacking my knight. They're also guarding the h5 square. We'll check with an engine in a moment if there's anything I can do here. It's possible that white is okay still, but yeah, somehow I was maybe a little too excited. Either way, again, turned out to be a very fun game. Now, I think the next step, is actually going and turning on the engine. So, okay, this will kind of force us to put all of our pieces back on the board and then do very much what we just did, right? We're going to replay the game, only we're going to reference the engine evaluation. And so that's definitely interesting, but I'll skip that for this part of the video because it's nothing that we haven't seen already. We're just replaying the moves. So to conclude, I enjoyed playing on this board a lot, and I hope that this video with the gameplay and with the analysis and with the comparing, I hope this helped you understand whether this might be a good board for you.